what a wonderful day to open some relics. Meta, the immovable force of the universe. No one dares to challenge it, but today we'll be bringing justice into Warframe. I'll put the most common picks for each game mode under the spot, analyze what makes them meta, and suggest non-meta options which might shock you to the very core. For starters, we have a big and important cluster of fast-paced missions. I'll be honest with you, while Gauss lacks vertical mobility and Volt is restrained to the ground, Titania enjoys omnidirectional movement at unmatched speeds, so at this point it's really hard to overthrow the fairy. Nevertheless, regardless of how boring it may sound, our boy Wukong is a close contender, beating Pixie Queen at spies and providing easier 3D maneuvering. However, Exterminates is his weak spot. When in Cloudwalker you lose access to weapons and abilities, Titania's Thermal Sunder build on the opposite is the natural fit for crushing low to mid-level mobs. A trail of sundered, corrupted corpse is a common scene for relics, but normal star chart nuking is a highly contested realm. Mirage might look like a totally expected pick, and she really is. The only catch is that the suggested loadout is a bit gimmicky. The build is centered around typically helmeted-out Star Prism, and let me tell you, it absolutely shreds. Comboed with infested mobility and some amber parkour shards, it makes possible even to outrun the fairy. As a side note, if you choose to go the parkour maxing path, don't forget you can also equip these Amalgam mods and Praetos Incarnon with respective perks. Clearing higher-level foes, though, requires a more considerable firepower. Anyways, before that, a brief intermid summary. For casual missions, Titania. Yeah, I know the vid is called Break the Meta or something, but her movement is just that unique, and I'll not fiddle with some obscure picks for the sake of clickbaiting. For Spy's Wukong, his Cloudwalker scales off just the basic movement speed, and this is kinda sad. There are only a few niche ways to increase it. But worry not, Saren's Molt is one of such. Slap it over Monkey's 4, boost the duration, and you'll be zooming around with ease. For Exterminates, the aforementioned Mirage. One more to pile up on that. Mobile defenses, because with any half-decent weapon, it's basically the same point A to point B drill.
The odds were against us, Tenno.
As Titania won't work this time, I have something special for you. Neja, this speedy, slippery boy should handle the job just fine. Okay, a few steps back to Steel Path Exterminates. There is no like a staple frame for it. Weapon platforms are good, nukers are good. But my personal preference is Gara. You see, many caster frames are kind of struggling with Eximus units. That's not the case with Glass Lady. The immense amounts of crit and elemental damage from Shattered Lash leave no one alive. The star of the show is melee influence. Shocking Touch and Voltaic Strike are to increase electric weighting. Everything else is a generic melee exalted build. For Gara herself, negative efficiency build, which for such a spammy gameplay is truly an upsetting occurrence. Fortunately, there's a lot we can do about this. Tick off your fingers. Archon Stretch, Steadfast and/or Energize, and Nourish. The icing on the cake would be Death Cube's Precept mod. Additionally, to adjust the build for more single-target damage swap influence for Doughty or Afflictions. Will it be enough to deal with VIP targets? It will, I guess. But in Assassinations, damage doesn't always equate to fast completion. The bosses in Warframe are designed in such a way that you're either killing them in seconds or you'll be suffering through multiple invulnerability phases trying to snipe out those tiny weak spots. The potential cure is Mag's redirecting bubble, which negates the need to aim at them. Or Nova's ult. In different scenarios, both Slova and Speedva versions might prove its usefulness. For example, at Sargus Ruk, Speed Nova significantly reduces time between damage lockouts, while at Lephantis, slowing down animations could be more handy to give yourself a lengthier damage window. That said, except for some very specific mechanics-heavy boss fights, this all-purpose tanky Nova build should suffice. As for the weapons, I'm going to give you another meta-breaking piece of advice. Torrid Incarnon. Crazy, I know, but hear me out. Given all the faction shenanigans and damage attenuation crap, this would be the silver bullet, which nonetheless doesn't stop you from experimenting for a more specialized approach for each boss. So to speak, for more weapon recommendations, consult my gun tier list video. Oh, silly me, I don't have one yet, but we can always fix it. Fine, on to the next. Now we have longer form missions, and let us start with defense. Not this one, mirror defense. Actually, I want to get this out of the way quickly. If it's Albrecht's mirror defense, you can bring any frame. Like literally, it's timer gated anyway. At Tiana Pass, yet again, Titania comes in clutch. Crystals won't collect themselves. Just so that you don't think it's Titania's worship video, here's a short list of all remaining missions where she is naturally a high performer. Void Flood, Netracells, and potentially Index. Turning to classic defense, there is no consensus on who's the best. Still, Saren is the one who has always been among the top picks. Depending on the tile set, Miasma nuking build allows to complete the first 3 wave rotation in 2 to 5 minutes. And that could be it for the section, but then I started searching for some non-meta solutions and stumbled upon this comment.
Oh, let me guess. It would be another Frost Globe build when you cast it over the defense target and take your sweet time to kill baddies with Brighton. How cute!
Nope, it was a map-clearing avalanche setup. Unexpectedly good, I would say. Definitely it won't work as good at larger tile sets. However, as something to spice up your arsenal, it's certainly worth it. For higher levels, you want to take Equinox, probably the only steel path viable mass nuke in the game, though it requires a bit of prep work. In the day form, Equinox 4 is kind of an aura which scans the enemies for how much damage is dealt to them by you or your teammates, and then by deactivating the ult, all the accumulated damage can be released in a big blast, which is why the rotation goes like this. Store the damage in the night form, something around 2 to 3 mil. Mighty tap, and it all goes quiet. Since I started talking about the best Warframe casters, it seems to be a good timing to dive into Sanctuary Onslaught. Despite that Mirage already got her minute of fame today, you cannot deny it. Thanks to one peculiar augment mod, she just crushes the Onslaught. To get things going, you might be needing a bit of assistance at the start of the round, but once you're set, the KPM counter will be monopolized in no time. One cool alternative to mess with is Thermal Sunder Harrow. I don't have to tell you that one of the spammiest abilities plus infinite energy is a heaven-made duo. And yeah, as a reminder, put Sunder in your first slot, otherwise Daddy Samaris will not be happy.
Hunter, I have temporarily disabled.
So far, so good. Next up, Interception. First of all, understanding how AI acts here will make your life a lot easier. Enemies will target the first console you take. If they take it, then they'll spread out among the others you are already controlling. So instead of capturing points one after the other, take any first point and move to the next. If the first point starts being taken back, return to knock the enemies off it, rinse and repeat. In other words, holding the first console keeps the enemies concentrated on it, and your other points safely ignored. My go-to frame for the mission is Nyx. High-range, high-duration chaos build makes it a breeze even at Steel Path. Subsumed Silence as an extra layer of crowd control won't hurt as well. For the next mission type, crowd control is also very much needed, which brings us to the one who has it in abundance. Not gonna lie, I'm kinda surprised myself that Korra gets mentioned this late, but she finally does, and for a few good reasons. You know better than me how good she is at locking down large areas of the map, but what really puts her above all in this ranking is the ability to dupe power cells. Yep, it's this crucial, because if I were to rate frames solely based on how they deal with keeping extractors safe, without a second thought, numero uno would have gone to Oberon. For sure, frames such as Gara and Frost do provide a solid area of protection for the Excavator, but leaving it unintended can result in it dying near instantly, while Oberon is in the unique position being able to grant both healing and damage reduction to drills, which means he can safely leave the dig site to grab power cells without fear of its immediately being destroyed. Being almost done with, as I call them, vanilla game modes, we inevitably come to the big 3 of endurance missions. My standpoint on that is all the same. Any properly geared frame can make it up to the level cap. However, implying you would be having an infinite run, conceptually. The strongest pick is Komei. Though I agree it's not necessarily the most efficient or fun way to play at 9,000 levels, just theory crafting. At the same time, casual survivals, to my mind, is primarily the place where people are looting, so it's no surprise frames with looting abilities fit here the best. The Korra build from earlier would be fine. Void Cscade in its turn is a heavy gear check with your frame being only the third of the required loadout. Still, not going far from the Warframes topic. One thing to remember at Cascades is that the normal mobs are not the mission objective. Keeping vigilant on the objective markers and focusing on Thrax the moment you see them is key, in which regard 2 main stats we'll be looking out for are survivability and mobility. So, I can either go with a fail-proof Ashe recommendation or give you the reason to finally play anime girl Yoreli. Okay, fine. Grab the 90% damage reduction Marilena and have some fun. Disruption. Here's the deal. There are a plethora of different frames who can handle Demolists. I'll just share my recently discovered favorite, Dagath. I've picked her in Steel Path Duviri and was genuinely astonished how good she is even without proper modding. Then I gave her a test here and there, including Disruption. To be honest, cavalry nuking didn't seem to be doing much against tough guys, so instead, I made a weapon platform build. To capitalize on the crit damage boost from the third, bring something with high crit stats. And now a few subcategories of the missions I don't quite know how to sort out. First up, open world bosses, each of which deserves its own video. What I can do for now is to sketch out an approximate cheat sheet. Volt is a staple meta for Eidolons. More exquisite players may look into Jade. Profit Taker Chroma. Exploiter Orb Mesa. Taking this opportunity, Mesa is also an amazing frame for the majority of the open world bounties. Arbitrations and Rathuum Arena. You could pull some crazy yields there. I have a vid on each of both if you wonder, but bear in mind it would be a team farm with a lot of equipment requirements. And whilst you possibly can solo Arbitrations with Revenant or whatever, there is absolutely no point playing by yourself at Arena. Lastly, game modes you would have likely forgotten if it weren't for sorties. Number 1, Hijack. This mission alone keeps afloat Mr. Inaros. As they say, no shields, no problems. Funnily enough, even then I still don't bring him here. Capacitance Volt does all the same plus crowd control. Defection. All 3 of Wisp's motes work on the defectors and they work wonders. Stack ability strength and plant them near the med boosters. The chances are you won't even have to follow the squad to the extraction point. Infested Salvage. If you don't know what this is, you're a lucky man. To put in a few words, this is a combination of survival and interception. Anyway, I did note that there seems to be a larger chance of an Iatan on salvage tile sets. En route to the destination, blow up the treasure rooms so as not to miss the extra loot. To break the containers, I'm using Zaku. Probably he is not the best frame for the rest of the mission, but pulling 11 to 12 minute C rotation runs with him is still more than doable. Okay, that will do for now, I guess. Most certainly, I did miss something. Feel free to correct me in the comments below. Truth be told, this was a very time-consuming format. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, the sub and like will be very much appreciated. Worry not, all previously announced projects continue to be on the roadmap and being worked on simultaneously. But until then, make yourself at home and check other stuff. See you later. Peace.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill.